To Ruck and Roll Rugby, and just after the All Blacks loss, I don't react to anything from the interviews and the press conferences on the night, because I feel, when you've gone through a loss like that, you're not going to have enough time to process. So I'm more curious now, the day later or 2 days later, who knows, the interview with Foster that they've had. I'm going to be reacting to that one, and let's get into it. 12 hours, so it's one day.
Having had a bit more time to think about that?
Look, very similar to last night, like it was in many ways a perfect storm. We probably had 7 players who haven't played a game of rugby in 4 weeks, and they needed this game. We wanted to go and, and our mindset was to go and really hard at it. Thought we looked rusty. And quite frankly, I thought South Africa were outstanding in terms of how they pressured us.
Let me just stop there. There's 2 things I wanted to mention. The one is, you guys will know that I actually made a video where I was questioning, is it better to be playing a lot of games, warm-up games before World Cup, or is it better to not be playing a lot of games? Well, I think from all that perspective, it's clear that it might have been better for them to keep playing, where they've had 2-3 weeks with no games, so maybe that has had an influence on them. That's what I would say on that point. Maybe they should have really had a few more warm-up games, maybe not necessarily having to play their number 1 team, but kind of getting some of that depth with a Lord Avai, more of your I'm more concerned when I'm looking at your front back, but maybe also a little bit more of Mackenzie, because Samoanga gets an injury. Mackenzie hasn't had that much time, so maybe have had a few lighter games, warm-up games, just to kind of get that kind of confidence that you've got the depth, and you've got obviously your form team, which was the form team before this game. So that would be the one thing. The other thing is, I just have to say, New Zealand has been gracious, losers. It doesn't sound right. Very respectful in the way they lost. They've given the respect where respect is due. There's not been a lot of excuses. They've taken it on the chin, and I just have respect for that. But anyway, let's keep watching.
At the areas that they wanted to pressure us, and that coincided with a red card, and there goes the game. But it was still a game that we needed, and I think we'll make sure we use that really, really well in a fortnight's time.
What are the next steps with Scott and his hearing, and how do you see that playing out?
I'm not sure. We're waiting to see. At the end of the day, the facts are he got a yellow. The first yellow card was not for foul play. The second yellow card was a yellow card, so it wasn't a red card.
It's tough, but the second one was,
the judiciary
was not a great one from Scott Barrett.
On the opposition, they judge it on the facts.
Can you just clarify the second yellow? Did it get referred to the TMO to?
Yeah, everyone's asking.
Potentially upgrade or not?
Well, it's a really good question, because we didn't get any feedback on that. But the answer is that we don't think it was upgraded.
What was it looked at?
Well, I'm assuming it was.
Yeah. So it's not a red. That's interesting.
Oh, fine. It's what we expect. I thought they looked. When you have a set piece battle, there's always a lot of spotlight on the refereeing, isn't there? Because it's everyone's trying to squeeze each other, and so it's 2 tests in a row that we've been penalised early at scrum time. So we've been tracking really well in that space. We need to look at that, because our line-out drive stuff. I thought Tyrell was really correctly penalised once for going early, but there's a couple of others, like I said last night. We just want to go back and query the concept of being thrown across a line and what that impacts on it.
I just want to say, Foster's got to understand, the refereeing is different in the Northern Hemisphere. You either got to adapt, or you're going to have trouble in this World Cup. It's just the way it is. And maybe that's where the Springboks have had more of an advantage playing in the URC and in all those leagues, the Champions League and all of that, being able to get more kind of exposure to that way of reffing?
Tyrell's very sore. He's he's our worst injury. So he's got 30 stitches. Got stitched by a surgeon last night at different depths, so it's actually got into the muscle, and so
that's
will be in a brace for
worse.
4 or 5 days as we give that.
Worse news, actually.
So, long term he looks good, but it's put himself into the unlikely category, I thought, in a fortnight.
I mean, that kind of injury, if it's gone into the muscle, you're looking 3 weeks probably at least.
Others, actually not too bad. I think Ethan's knee, he felt his knee in that first half, but played on, and that sub was effectively at the time we expected to make it. And give me a clue, I'm just...
other injuries, pretty combative piece, obviously.
Yeah, there's obviously some sore people, but they're the main ones.
Just on Scott, like at what stage do you kind of start thinking about potential contingencies if he does potentially face a suspension?
You don't have to make any. We don't have to make any decisions. We can make decisions whenever we like, but we're not.
It makes sense.
The final score.
Why do you worry about something that's not there yet, I guess?
Can Luke Jacobson play a lot?
You might find out.
Is there any progress?
Oh, no.
Brody and Shannon in terms of their fitness?
Yeah, I don't know if you got here in time. They were just finishing their session out there. Both running pretty well. Again, probably slightly ahead of schedule. But again, unlikely for France.
Yeah.
But going well.
And you built a lot of confidence, momentum through the first 3 tests of the year, and then you mentioned these guys hadn't played for a while. Now you have another 2 weeks off. How difficult is it going to be to regain that confidence, momentum from the start of the year?
Yeah, look, I think I think we're confident, and it didn't look like that, And I know we got a good spanking yesterday, so I'm not hiding from that fact. But if you go through
I don't know.
Tyrell, Ethan, Scott Barrett, you go through the likes of Geordie, Rico, Bodie, they haven't played since the MCG, and there's not much we can do about that because that's the schedule. So we had to make a decision. Do we play them through and give them right through to Dunedin to that test and then maybe give them this one off, or do we have a whole group of our team that's not battle hardened and hasn't played? So yeah, you make those decisions, and we live or die on it, but we're not panicking about that result last night. It's we knew we were going to get challenged. It's not the result we wanted, but still believe in the plan. I still believe we've got the group that needed to play played. Scott not as long as I would have liked, but at least what we have got now is we've got a good sort of litmus test of where we're at. We've got guys that have played fortnight out from a big test, and everyone's in the same boat.
Well, he's saying that everyone's in the same boat. I wouldn't say when he said they go into this with confidence. I don't know how you can say it's confidence. In my opinion, there's no confidence losing a game like this just before you've got another big one coming up, 2 weeks off. But what he's saying, that's right, is they're all in the same boat and they're feeling that hurt. And they're going into this France game with a point to prove. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Now on, after this weekend, everyone's in the same boat. So we just got to use our camp in Germany really smart and go into France and just get stuck into what's going to be a pretty exciting World Cup.
Bobby, what's your level of concern that when the team was put under physical pressure, the way that they were, that the discipline was the first thing that kind of kicked in like that?
Yeah, look, it's probably the one thing that bugs us, and because I think we've been making big strides in that. I think that it's discipline covers a whole lot of things, doesn't it? Like it covers how you deal with a ref's decision you don't quite agree with, how you respond to that. I thought that some of the discipline issues early were over eager and probably trying too hard. So, we can get a bit more clinical on that. But the key discipline areas that you really got to look at is in that first 15 minutes, we absorbed so much pressure. You know, it's and then we had a chance to break out, and we had, you know, Scott went through and counter-rucked and didn't do it well and got yellow carded, so we go back in. Fletcher's getting up from the base of a ruck to get out quickly and kicks the ball and gets yellow carded, so they go back into that zone.
By the way, the momentum is important in the game, and when it goes not go your way, obviously, yes, that is tough. And I felt the All Blacks for the first, say, 20 really kept the All Blacks, the Springboks out for a lot of the opportunities that the Springboks had and the position they had in that first 20. They kept them out well, but that's it. Thereafter, like, even if your momentum shifts, you gotta have some other plan. You gotta say, okay, the momentum's not going our way. We had a breakout. You know, they kept trying to run the ball, and they weren't really winning the set piece. When you get the ball, kind of like play, like I've said before, up and unders, or kind of try kick for the corners, put the pressure back onto the other half, in my opinion. But then again, I'm just a rugby fan.
And you know, we have a good strike off a scrum, getting out of our exit zone and getting behind them. And Geordie has a false offload, and they're under the bar. So that's also the discipline area. So it's not just the obeying the laws. It's actually just how we execute. Because if we'd been able to counter punch at that point, I think it might have been a different game. But you know, big games, you have few big moments, and you've got to get good at them.
Just on Tyrell, you said you're unlikely for France, but you're still hopeful that he'll be fit to take part in the World Cup.
Oh yeah, I see no reason why it would be changing Tyrell. Like it's like at the stage, there's no reason why we'd be changing the squad based on information we have right now. So we'll just and like I said, the judiciary process, we'll wait and see. We haven't actually had confirmation yet, and like I said, it really is a 2 yellow card setup rather than.
They've got 2 weeks to make decisions, so
we'll just play that by ear.
Arsenal Dane said Scott, you know, is his own harshest critic, especially when it comes to this sort of stuff. How's he kind of holding up, I guess, in the wake of that last night?
Oh, look, he's good. He's realistic, and you know, and at the end of the day, we want the player.
He's not a guy that does this type of thing like often. So
they want to give their best, and Scott's at the top of the tree when it comes to that. And we've seen his play this year, so I think he's fine. We just go back into process mode now, you know, and try and take the emotion out of it, and because there's a lot happening in that first half, wasn't there? You know, there seemed to be a bit of an onslaught between cumulative penalties and were they right, were they wrong. You had Tyrell's cut, which was very unique, stopping the game for a long time. You had Scott's yellow card. Then
I'm afraid saying the were they right, were they wrong. I know we've got a lot of All Black supporters also watching my channel, but guys, sometimes you got to say the ref's not always going to get everything perfectly. But if you look at the overall first half, you know, most of the times, you know, you cannot expect things to go your way when you're on the back foot like that and try and look for excuses, you know, with a few penalties. You were just outplayed, you know. That's what I feel.
Sam's yellow card and then a red card, so there was a lot happening, and there's a lot of emotion in the shed afterwards, but we just got to calm down and say, well, that's World Cups. And so really, if you're looking for a dress rehearsal, that's perfect.
That's
what did you
true.
see from Cam Roigard last night? Has given you food for thought ahead of that first tournament game?
Really quick over 55, probably not quite as quick over 60, but we'll take the 55 happily. I liked him, you know. I think he's been impressive the way he's trained.
Oh yeah,
and you know,
great for All Black future.
We wanted to get him back on the park again. You know, we were impressed with him at MCG and Geordie's training, and I thought he'd come in and really come.
May I say, I was a bit disappointed in Smith's performance. He looked a little bit flustered to me. You expect those kind of senior players, you scrum off and you fly off, to take control of the game. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. It was a bit of a disappointing game from him as well.
And look, there was a lot of young players on the park in that second half, and it wasn't easy for them to get the cohesion that they wanted, but I thought he looked really calm and did what he does well. He did it well.
And you mentioned you and the coaches confident in the plan. Is there an element of the players being psychologically rocked at all by their performance on the eve of big tournament?
Oh, that's our job as a team to deal with that, you know, and it's it's actually okay to be psychologically down after a game like that, because
It is true.
you put so much into it. But when you look at the bigger picture about what we want to achieve out of that game, well, we got, to be fair, we got everything that we expected. We just didn't deal with it as well as we expected. So we just got to go back and fix that. But we got a lot of belief in what we've been doing, and you know, we know that the first game of the World Cup's big, and it's going to be just like that last night, and we'll probably be attacked in a very similar ways. So you know, our view is that we'll take the sort of view that you should expect is, okay, well, what happened, how are we going to deal with that differently, and we're going to know that we're going to have to be at our best, particularly at that set piece area.
Oh yeah, for sure. Set pieces are very important.
You know, I've got Steve doing all the reconnaissance on that one. So.
Good.
Thanks,
Thanks,
So I mean, what Foster said there at the end is he's saying like the guys shouldn't be too down on themselves. I think the advice that they should give these guys is, you know, you got to look at the bigger perspective and how good form they've been all round, say in the last 2 months, and just collectively take all of that with you and say, look, we beat the Springboks just 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, and they did it, you know, very confidently. They need to just change their game to play that type of game again. And that game when they beat the Springboks, they did exactly what the Springboks did to them right now. They dominated the first 20. And that is now, I think, the biggest thing between these two teams, in my opinion. Who dominates the first 20? Because both these teams now seem to have the same issue that, and I've seen this from the Springboks as well, although the Springboks crawled back into the game against the All Blacks, they pushed themselves back into the game, but the first 20 I think is becoming so important between these two games, and probably all big games, to get that momentum, and I think the first 20 in any World Cup now is going to become, you know, imperative to create that momentum for yourself. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.